Hear me out, hear me out. Let me just get this off my chest. Welcome to Her Diary Out Loud with Danny Royal, where my journey does not define me, but it defies the barriers of caring about what other people think. One real life experience at a time, my story, my way. I mean, it's better out than in, right? Now, I know y'all have heard about the show called In Living Color. I would like to dedicate this episode to In Living Color, but In Living Color of my life. And to be honest, I am a Black girl with a colorful life. Now, I've said that, but I don't really quite think y'all understand what I mean. So, me being the golden girl has been a thing since the beginning of time, okay? Me being a believer or quote unquote church girl has been a thing since the beginning of time. But the reality of it is everybody has their own journey and everybody has their own story. And it's not even about just the beginning and the end, it's everything in the middle, okay? And so my middle has sometimes middle. For sure, my middle has sometimes middle. And so today's recap is touching on Her in Living Color. My stories, things that I've experienced and things that I've gone through in between time, in the meantime. And the in between time, in the meantime is everything in between, being married, being divorced, having children, so many things. Every lifestyle thing you probably can think of, and just stories about how I've overcome them, crazy things that I could not even, like, y'all would have been like, sis, what? Wait 1 second. I know she did. I know. Yes, she did. Probably. Now, I know and recognize that everybody has their own testimony and their own journeys. That's the beauty of being an individual. That's the beauty of growth. That's the beauty of being cultivated into what you are becoming and what you are today. Now, I made mention about me asking God to but to give me my own story. Not knowing or even realizing that I didn't even have to ask. He was going to do that whether I wanted him to do it or not. But at what point was I ready to jump out into the deep, right? So I thought I was ready. Sis wasn't ready. Sis was not ready. But even though I wasn't ready, I had already prayed that prayer. And guess what? Life was about to do what it was going to do. And did. And when it did, it had its highs and it had its lows. Oh, the roller coaster ride that I went on. Now, I'm not going to touch on all of the stories that I had talked about inside of the podcast. You would just have to go to our podcast platform, which is Podbean, and follow us under Her Diary Out Loud podcast and listen in. We would love for you to be there. Join the conversation. Sometimes it's good to have a conversation, or it's good to converse, because conversation is not even a word. But y'all know what I mean. This journey has been one to remember. And one of the things that I would like to touch on in this video is, or in this recap, is just sometimes being at the wrong place at the wrong time, or being around the wrong people at the wrong time, or just not even, not, I could say that, but it's really not being somewhere at the wrong place at the wrong time, because really you were right where you needed to be. You were right where God wanted you to be. The time I was in jail, One time I was in jail for something that I totally did not do. Now, I didn't even know that I had a warrant for my arrest. But let me tell you how God is so good. Okay? He is so good. Now, I've had more than one time that I've been like locked up. Not for long periods of time cuz I'm not a criminal. However, you know, when you attach yourself to people, places and things that don't serve you well, the outcome can be rather touchy. Okay? So my specific situation and scenario, I was going to like, see if I can like apply somewhere real quick that I can make some quick money. I don't remember exactly. I think it was GoPuff. And they don't play. They don't play about their background checks and all that jazz. And which they shouldn't. It's a job. You dropping stuff off the people, you going to their warehouse, you being around other people and all of these different things. But for me, I had no clue. I was trying to do the Uber thing. Was trying to do the delivery thing with GoPuff. So I'm like, all right, this is chill. I kind of get a chance to move at my own pace. I was coming from another state at the time, and I just kind of wanted to do something quick. Didn't want to do too much because everybody knows that I'm a creative and I love to create things. And working for somebody is just not my thing, right? Different story for a different day. However, I'm like going through, and I'm looking and I'm going through my background check because I'm trying to stop. I'm like, what y'all got on my background check is completely wrong. Like, y'all are wrong. No, they actually were not wrong. I really did have two felonies and a misdemeanor. Well, how in the world was that a thing? When I say I was like on and I was like ready, I was like, let me go up there, let me go up to the police station to see what's going on because clearly if you go to the police station though, you're going to get caught up. Why are you going to get caught up? Because you have a warrant. But I was just like so like into my whole thing and I'm like, I know I didn't do anything. I'm not a criminal, ain't been nowhere, ain't bop 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 bop. And I'm like, okay, let me just so I called my mother. I let her in on what was going on. And I'm like, oh shoot. She's like, no, 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 just make sure that you got your everything straight because you got the babies and you want to make sure that everything is good. Well, the boys weren't babies, anymore, but like they were older, but you know what I'm saying. She wanted to make sure that everything was solidified because if not, it could be a thing. And she didn't want it to be a thing. And she wanted to make sure that they were good, as a parent should. And I was thinking about that, but I was just really thinking about clearing my name because I was like, look, this is a bunch of foolishness. Like, I know that I didn't do anything like what? So I do what I got to do, make sure all of my ducks are in a row. And I also make sure that I have everything squared away so the boys can go to school, amongst other things, right? And so, in me doing that, everything was cool. I turned myself in. I talked to one of my friends. Shout out to one of my friends who walked me through this whole process because I never thought, I never thought, I never thought that I would be in such situation. I was so embarrassed to even say anything to them, but shout out to them for just being there. I really, really appreciate that. When you're in situations that don't serve you well, or in situations where you can't even explain, it's just like you're like, what? And at that point, you don't know who to talk to, who not to talk to. You don't want to be judged. You're ashamed, first of all, of the situation and that you're there in the first place. Now, at this time, I just was like, man, like me and this specific friend, we hadn't talked in quite some time, but like I knew that if I ever really needed them, that I could count on them in that regard. So I reached out to them when we got a chance to meet up and we talked. And we had like lunch, and before we had lunch, he walked me through everything, and and I think I appreciate you. Shout out to the people who are ride or dies and who are genuinely, for you. Okay? Because sometimes you get people in your life, but they're not genuinely for you. Okay. So I ended up going, or whatever the case might be. They ended up going with me. It was something that I was just like, okay, sis, you need to just like, get it together, do all the things, they say, just comply, make sure everything's good and blah, blah, blah. Did that and literally got out like, I don't know, was it like the same day, but later on that night. And y'all know if y'all go to Central Booking and here in the state of Maryland or in Baltimore, that you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be in there all weekend if you go in on a weekend. And you might not get out until maybe like Tuesday, Monday, even, depending on how things go. So I ended up going to the county. I was able to get out early, thanks be unto God. And I was able to do what I needed to do so that I can obtain, my sanity, right? Considering the fact that I was trying to figure out still why was I in there in the first place, and I was sitting on the edge of my seat. Well, why? Because, of course, when you have a misdemeanor and a felony or something as such, you don't know what the story is or who even did it until you get there. And so when I found out who it was and when I found out how things went, I was shocked and appalled, but not shocked because I knew this character, right? And this specific character said that I came to their house with a weapon and I tried to use it on them. And I bet not use it on them. And I mean, they bet not communicate with, one of my children's dads. And if they do, then I'm going to comfort them. First of all, I might not have had the best of times with my children's dads, but I'm not about to be defending their honor to that magnitude. That's number one. Number two, I'm not about to be waking you up out of your sleep to threaten you with a weapon. I don't even I don't even carry. Not yet. I would like to, but I'm not yet. And so I was just like, are you serious? All the places and positions that we can put ourselves in from just linking ourselves up with people who don't serve us well. You find yourself in things, out of things, through things, in between times, in the meantimes of things that you know for sure that you shouldn't be in. God be trying to teach lessons and do because we be hard headed. I know I'm hard headed. Now, I didn't foresee that. I didn't foresee me being in a situation like that at all. God intervened and he worked and moved on my behalf in a way that I could not imagine. However, like sitting in a jail cell, you're having to get your fingerprinted, that sticks with you for however long, right? And they were saying that I came in and I ended up leaving in a car and they couldn't remember what I had on and this is that and the third. Lied. So apparently the weapon was a weapon that, was could have been deadly or detrimental to someone if I decided to use it. And I was just sitting up there like, what in the world? There is no way. Now, fortunately enough, because I'm not a criminal, I was able to clear my name. They asked me, do you have representation? Would you like to represent yourself? And this is that and the third. Asked you all of these questions. And I was just like, yeah. But I was sitting in that cell. And as I was sitting in that cell, I didn't even want to lay down. I didn't want to do anything. I was just sitting in there and I was just like, man, my eye dozed off for like 2 seconds, my eyes closed, but the Holy Spirit was speaking to me. And while the Holy Spirit was speaking to me, I was just like, man, you got to be more careful. But he let me know that he was with me. He let me know that my ministry also was not just tied to women, but my ministry was tied to men as well. And I was so appreciative to hear him say that because I'm like, Lord, I know you gave me 4 sons, and I know women are always talking about, empowerment, women empowerment, sisterhood. And I am a woman. That is beautiful to me. However, I'm like, what about the men? There's something special about men that God loves. And I love that for them. even though they may not realize, or maybe they have not seen or encountered him the way that I know that they will or can. God has something so special and so huge for his men. Shout out to the men out there. I don't mean the men that is in between time in the meantime, trying to figure, like, you don't know if you want to be a man or a female. I don't, and I don't mean that in an offensive way. I'm talking about a man that's really ready to step into his masculinity, and also be receptive and heed to the voice of God. In whatever way God says, hey, I just need you to obey my will. And as you obey my will, I'm going to do something for you. If you take care of my business, I'm going to take care of yours. And that's what I mean. Now, I'm not saying that you may have not been a man with a journey. You may have been a man with a journey. Hence, her in living color. Okay? Hence my story. I'm telling you stories, and I'm telling my story to literally show you that God's grace is sufficient. Maybe you don't know, or maybe you forgot. But he's for you. That's for somebody. But I literally represented myself, and I was able to go my way. I was able to be free, fly like a bird. I did everything that I needed to do, everything that was said of me to do when, in talking to one of my friends, and things worked out in my favor. But like, just so you know, like, my life has been very colorful. Now, that was not the first time that I was in a cell. I was also in a cell because I failed to appear in court. Now, that wasn't on purpose. I ended up getting some court papers, and I thought that one case was closed, or a case was closing, and I thought that that was the case. So I didn't think that, based off of the letter that I had gotten in the mail, I didn't think that it was a thing. And so they ended up putting that they wanted me to get picked up because it was a sense of urgency based off of how they filed. And I was just like, bro, this is crazy. And I found myself like saying, like, but God let me know in that moment that he was with me. He showed me himself in a different way, even in that moment. So when man tried to hit me up in these situations, after I first put myself in situations that I didn't even have to be in, God was showing me how all things work together for the good of them who loves him, and to those who are called according to his purpose. And believe it or not, people can try to hem you up all they want to. You could get the lesson and have gotten the lesson, and they still trying to get at your head. They still trying their hand. And God's like, I need you to leave that child alone. She belongs to me. He belongs to me. Y'all see that good sun shining through on a good day, just let God letting us know that his glory is just rest, ruling, and abiding. Now, that's not the only story that I've encountered, or the only few stories that I've encountered. I've encountered many crazy things. Like, I touch on this briefly in the podcast episode, like how I got married in Vegas to someone, and it was actually specifically to the Marine. Now, I'm not going to throw names out there, but they know who they are. And some of y'all know who they are. And the thing about it is I did it because I felt like I needed a fresh start. Me getting married to that young man, I believe that I was led of God. That's number one. But I also believe that God was trying to teach me a lesson. Here's why. When I got married to that young man, I had just gotten to a place where I was able to start anew. I had moved into my new place. I had moved from a shelter because, I had gotten put out of a place. Different topic for a different day. But I got put out of a place. I was in a relationship that had already been done with. But I had been at the shelter for quite some time. So it wasn't like freshly. And I had knew this young man, prior to, for years before. So, they had stopped by, came through to see me and everything. And, I wasn't thinking about marriage, wasn't thinking about any of these things. I was just kind of like, it was a pleasure seeing you too. Now, they ended up reaching out to me saying, hey, I think that, you know, like this is where I'm supposed to be because you like it's like when I don't feel this way about anybody else when I leave them or when I'm with them the way that I feel about you. Now, mind you, it could be the nurture in me, it could be the mother in me, it could be several things that comes into play when I make you feel away, right? And that moment when he had came to see me, like we were not intimate at all. It was really just, hey, how you doing? Good to see you, blah blah blah, and catching up. And I remember one day he invited me to the Marine Ball. And I'm like, well, I'll see if I can come out there or whatever the case might be, And we had conversations in between that. And he was just like, like he had made little hints about marriage or made little hints about inquiring about marriage or whatever. And I touched on it briefly, but I didn't. And then eventually I'm like, are you serious? Like, seriously? You marriage? Wow. And I didn't think nothing of it like in a negative way. I just was like, maybe legit serious, okay, God, like, is this what you want me to do? Now, I also remember being at a place where I had felt overwhelmed. Even though I had moved into my new place and everything, I had felt overwhelmed because I felt like my sons needed a male presence, in their lives that was active and consistent so that they can learn really what discipline looks like. Learn, and I'm like, maybe this is the time. Maybe this is my time. I felt like I needed this man to, or a man to complete my circle, my family dynamic. And God showed me that all I really needed was him. And that the man that he would send me, or that he will send me one day, is going to be an asset to my life as I his. Now, I was thinking that he would be an asset in a way where, I needed the discipline and all these things. And really, that was a facade. He had the surface level discipline or whatever from being in the Marine Corps, but there were several things that he dealt with, or did not deal with, should I say, that caused me pain and trauma and different things out of it. And there's several stories that I'm going to unpack, and I can't wait to just really kind of like do a relationship series. It's coming. Just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. I got y'all. But like, I just was like, man, it's a hard no. But I ended up, long story short, I ended up getting married to him, and we ended up getting married in Vegas. And so, somebody who really wants to be married, we had a great time. I felt really close to him when I went to go, stay up there when I was in Cali. And it was just really, really great. It was a great experience, a great time. I was just like all smiles, sunshine, and rainbows. Come on, Princess Poppy, come on, right? Just to get married. No, let me backtrack. Okay. When we got married in Vegas, you would have thought that he at least would put on his Marine, outfit or whatever. Suit, uniform. Not outfit, but uniform. No. This man put on some jeans and a shirt, and we ended up getting married. And I remember being excited, telling my family, and I was excited. I believe I had heard from God. And I know that I heard from God, but God wanted to teach me a lesson. And the lesson that he wanted to teach me simply was the same place that I was when I wasn't with him, that I was with him when I was married to him, was the same place that I was in with him. And he showed me that you didn't need this man for that. I'm going to do what I need to do through you, in you, and for you and your seed. And this person and these people will be for you. And when I say people, I mean male and female friends of all, friends and family and whomever that's attached to me as God gives them. There are people that are graced to be in your life. And then there are people that are there to take from you in ways where you feel depleted. And then there are people that are there for you to pour into and for you to give unto. And so I had to learn my role into where I stood at in people's lives. And I had to see, like, through the BS. Because really, truth be told, people always have motives. Knowing what their motives are concerning you is highly imperative. And this is why you must have a keen sense of discernment. And this is why you must seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And I found myself in places throughout my journey where the intention and motives of people I didn't really check. Now, do I do it? Absolutely. Did I do it before? Not so much. But I had to learn that. I had to learn healthy boundaries. I had to learn that it's okay to say no. I had to learn that it's my space and my time, my effort, my energy. Who do I want to give that to? Everybody don't deserve it. I mean, after all, that's how I ended up in a jail cell. Everybody did not deserve my energy and effort, but I gave it to them. And I gave it freely. And I gave it willingly. And when you do that, people are that you can easily be targeted and easily preyed upon because of your heart, your willingness. They can see, oh, she's so innocent and she's such a child of God. Yes, oh, I love the Lord, but don't try me, especially not today. I'm not saying that I can't get God in no way, but riding with the Holy Spirit and doing it his way, I'm good on that. Like, he's going to show me. And only will he show me, he's then going to show me, and then I have to heed the signs. This is for somebody. Heed the signs. Because when God shows you who someone is, believe who they are. You don't have to be in colorful situations like mine to understand that wasn't for you, sis. But maybe, or that wasn't for you, bro. But maybe it was. Maybe it was because you had to get the lesson. So, in my podcast series, the sitcom series, we are unpacking so many things. And I'm super excited to unpack and share more stories with you about what it is that I have been through or gone through or experienced that has been so colorful. And there's so much more. I didn't even get to half the stories. There's so many stories that I could tell. But I just kind of like put a cluster of stories together so that you guys can understand that I'm human too. I make mistakes, I fall short, I get back up, keep going. I've dealt with shame, I've dealt with hurt, I've dealt with pain, but guess what? I don't stay there. I don't stay there. And that's the beauty of growing. That's the beauty of knowing I am evolving, constantly evolving. And it's such a beautiful journey to be on. So if you have not, go on over to our podcast. Follow us at Podbean under Her Diary Out Loud podcast. And be sure to share it out with someone. Let somebody know. Tell a friend to pull up. It could be male or female because we're sure that our brothers can get something out of our podcast too. All right? Leave us a rating review. Also, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on TikTok and Instagram. And if you have not yet, also go on over to my art page. Follow me on Harder Street 101.